was just reviewing what you added. So yeah, also Anjali, just for your context, last time we were basically our goal at the moment is to figure out how to visualize what the Collab.Land DAO is doing in the format of the Obra framework, which is kind of popularized in the Web3 space as like kind of this model. So you have a full-on organization, and then within that organization you have strategies, or basically like the different names for it. Some call it strategies, other people call it teams. The purpose of that is just to get a bit more clarity about what is really happening in the organization, and then make well-informed decision on how you want to, for example, distribute budgets across different strategies, or how do you fund a particular initiative or project, or how much, if you have like recurring work in a DAO, then how much would it cost to have a function running? So like one person working on something specific. So kind of a mental model for organizational design. It also maps onto how pretty much any company works. It's just like a very simplified version of that makes it easy to work with if the organization doesn't really have fully permissioned constraints. So it allows you to kind of map the work onto individuals without having roles, but rather functions that people can kind of jump into, execute. So for the mini apps, for example, we have someone building them, writing docs and submitting the apps. Then for outreach, we have like a lot of different things, like smaller tasks, like security Twitter threads or newsletter tutorial videos, and so on. And so essentially, we're getting kind of one step closer to seeing who is doing what on a regular basis. And once we have that, it's also going to be easier to create new workflows and new functions and new projects. And in particular, I think the biggest consideration is to just understand how to actually value the work of those. So like if you have someone building the mini apps, how would they be compensated as opposed to someone who's doing outreach and awareness, or any of the other operational parts. And so yeah, long term, we just want to get as clear as possible about what is happening and how that should be compensated. Does that make sense so far? Am I okay? Cool. So actually, one of the things that I also wanted to do is just generally do a little kind of how much we exercise. We shouldn't take longer than like 5 minutes, but what we think would be nice to also, as we're here in this group, to just align on is what are the things that we just all want to get out of this, because a lot of the documentation and visualization can be relatively targeted. So for example, this like just generally visualizing what is being done. In some future, we're going to go into a much more granular level. So for example, Deepwork, our functions and projects are documented to the level of the actual kind of tasks. So like it's very, very specific descriptions on who is doing what and how. The reason for that is, for example, when you need to onboard new contributors and teach them how to do something, or like scale, because you need in this case you might need more people who can build mini apps. There's specific quality standards. So you might need to define exactly the quality standard for that. And that just decides on like how exactly the documentation is written and basically what we do in the future. So I would suggest
yeah. Mm-hmm. Just a quick note, Anjali, since you weren't here in the last session, you have an invitation to add the sticky notes, right? So if you see things that are missing in each of these departments, teams, projects, etc., and yeah, please feel free to like flesh this stuff out.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't realize this was an ongoing meeting, so apologies for that.
That's okay. No. There's no start and end. It's all ongoing. Everything is ongoing. the universe doesn't start or end.
Everything, everywhere, ongoing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe let's actually start with what we're already doing. So what I was trying to compile here is just like the individual responsibilities, so that we write down the workflows, or actually maybe, because there's a couple of ways to do that. It can also be split. Let me think about how to explain it. So basically, we want to first kind of create individual roles rather than the names, because, and this is my mistake because I already started doing it with names, because there might be different areas of work, although this does seem to be like the same. Or actually, or Nerd, did you just kind of put together this as like from the different areas, right?
Yeah, I mean, you had that is what you had initially. I just added the other four because that's what I do.
Okay. Well, then let's maybe go through each of those and like keep them in the same column, because we might want to differentiate the actual kind of function from the within the, what do you call it, within the strategy, within the focus area. So if something that fits into outreach and awareness is like in your responsibility, like one particular area or like one particular role, then we can make it like one column.
I mean, they're all.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So then that would be like one function, which is education. It doesn't really matter what they're called as long as we know more or less that they're like one category.
Education and comms. Perfect.
Ah, yeah, right. That sounds good. Okay, nice. And then we also have GB can.
Who I'm sure are doing things that aren't written down here because it was just me and James generating these blue stickies last time.
Yeah. Well, we can also like, yeah. So what I'm doing with Gitcoin, for example, is I'm also just running interviews, like one-on-one interviews with people, and that helps to kind of get a full granular workflow. So these workshops are more like a starting point for us to agree and just see what's generally going on and like who, what, more or less. So if we say they're doing, Chibi's doing anything else.
Getting to, and that was the filtering, like somehow indicating, and I think the easiest way to do this would be to change the color of the sticky, right? So that we can differentiate between the active ongoing duties, like the business that is operating here, separate from the aspirational growth areas, right? Like these are the things we want to be spinning up, and I know like the AI R&D. Yeah, so pick up just so that that's clear status-wise.
Like what's in progress versus what's like a to-do.
Yeah, so like what is somebody what is the duty that somebody is regularly performing, right? An active part of the business today versus stuff that we're trying to move into. Yeah, great.
I mean, I think all the things we have here are currently ongoing things.
Cool. Yeah. Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, you just took care of it, so thank you for that.
Nice. Just so we know how many different functions there are in general. So Chibi is doing top 100 communities, DAO Town Hall, and Dev, like one function. Would it be one thing that person is doing?
Well, she also manages, like she's the main Discord mod. So just like managing community announcements within the server and also hosting all the events.
I guess so, yeah. So at least in the context of like outreach and awareness. So it seems like she's doing some outreach work and also some DAO culture community management, right?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, Nerd, how would you describe that? That's DAO culture, like what's happening in the server.
That's all community management, yeah.
And with regard to outreach, would that also be, because here it's like top 100 communities?
Yeah, in terms of like relationships. So the DAO top 100 communities, they made proposals and then, getting them all into the same area together and then answering their questions in channel and then reviewing the proposals, giving them the answers,
status updates, shepherding, all that stuff. So it's half project management, half communications, half shepherding. Yeah, so that is three halves.
How would you call that as like a function of hers? So maybe it is kind of like outreach or something, or more like
relationship management.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just making up words at this point. Does that sound like a thing, right? Relationship management.
Yeah, it's DRM, DAO relationship management.
Is that a thing?
Right.
And yes, it's that.
Perfect.
Yeah, I want to speak to something I'm not seeing here, and it's on this theme. And I think it's just the customer relations management, right? And I'm just wondering where you guys are putting that because right now it feels like it could be unintentionally spread across outreach, awareness, core operations, and DAO culture. And core operations kind of feels more management oriented, but then onboarding, offboarding is clearly like a customer relationship management thing. When I've done this exercise previously, I like to organize the thinking by like, where is the customer in relation to the product and the process, right? Kind of like the pirate KPIs approach. If you're familiar, if you want me to go write those over here on the side, I can. Just because that drives so much of the activities that we're doing is like helping people either get to our product or they're using it and they need some help and stuff, you know, or there's other needs that evolve out of that.
It might be like we can do that when we finish the mapping, just so we have a clear idea of like just generally what exists, and then we can see like how things relate to each other. Otherwise, it might also be a little bit too much right now for the brains. But okay, cool. So I think that covers everything from the outreach and awareness section. So we have.
Is there a reason we have DevRel CTO office hours twice on there?
Oh, I don't think so.
Those are two different events, right?
Right. So, but it's like
two different calls.
Right.
Chibi isn't the one who's presenting on those calls, but she is the one organizing them
and hosting them.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So is it
about hosting events? She does host those two. She hosts town hall, like if we're putting her hosting duties,
and plans it out, and
it plans out the whole town hall.
Okay, cool. All right, so I guess that's like one category then, right? So like one function of hers doing all of these things. It wouldn't make sense to split that up so one of the considerations in like writing these things out and categorizing them as well is that if any one of these people becomes a bottleneck, or if you think that they might be a bottleneck, although we can do that also in a one-on-one interview, it'll be easier to stop. So for example, if Chibi is already doing like a lot of different things, but they're kind of clearly differentiated between like an internal community and an external community, then that might be easy to split up in order to delegate sometime in the future. But it sounds to me like this is kind of all very doable, what she's doing, and part of the DAO relationship management, the function we just invented. Okay, cool. Nice. And Candy's just hosting Twitter Spaces, right?
As far as like DAO relations or what she's doing in general, she has a lot of other responsibilities that are outside of outreach and awareness. So do we mean just for outreach and awareness? Yeah, Twitter Spaces.
Okay, cool. Nice. All right. Awesome. Okay, cool.
Also, I guess content calendar. I mean, she runs the Twitter account, so that would be outreach and awareness as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Okay, that makes sense. Core operations, we have Shanda, Nerd, Russ, and Raymond, Abhishek. We also have Abhishek here.
Agnes, for adding all the developers.
Yeah, but I think a lot of this is we want to separate between like the core team and like the DAO, because we're going to eventually progressively decentralize. So they do work related to the core product, but they're not like in that. It's just like gray area.
We'll define the things that the team is currently doing and who is the leads on those initiatives, basically, as I understand it right now. And then eventually we can add more and decentralize some of these things and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, it's generally helpful to just see who's working on what, and then we can also see who is like almost like on a non-DAO relationship on a payroll, and who's in the DAO, and need to be progressively decentralized. Is there anybody actually responsible for the general outreach and awareness topic?
That's Anjali.
Yeah.
Me.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. I'm just going to add that here. Sweet. And mini apps is probably just Kenny, right?
Yeah. I mean, he builds the mini apps, like developers build the mini app, but he's like the main point of contact to guide them through the mini app.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not a developer. He's like a developer relation.
I see. Okay. Right.
So that is currently the only DAO connection that we have right now is through the mini apps.
And is there a specific kind of quality standard for the mini? So is there a compensation for building the mini apps?
There is not a compensation. The mini apps,
Okay.
the marketplace is like a distribution channel for the mini apps. So these are people that don't have any users for their mini
right.
So they
Okay.
get to be on our platform and have people start using them.
There is non-monetary compensation.
Correct.
Right.
That's true.
So
That's true.
or-
They get distribution platform, right?
But it's really interesting because there's two ways that these third-party devs could monetize. They could actually have it be a paid app, and so that's one way. And then second, it's almost like advertisement in a way where they have a light version of their app to get exposure, and then from that light version they upsell to whatever like paid version that they want to promote or want to sell.
But everybody else is being paid in Collab.Land tokens, or who is receiving the Collab tokens?
So the developers are putting Collab.Land token, or they're locking Collab.Land token, and so that if they're malicious or if they're doing anything nefarious, then their tokens get slashed. We don't call it because staking implies yield or reward.
Yeah, right.
Here it's that they don't get rewards. We may, if the DAO wants to in the future, potentially, who knows? But as of now, they're just locking to be able to provide security for the marketplace itself. So the more Collab tokens that there are, and the more value that the marketplace provides, value should accrue to the Collab token, so that a nefarious actor will get their lock slashed.
And when do they unlock them?
When do they unlock them? They can unlock whenever they want, but as soon as they unlock, their app gets delisted. So it's like a locking.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Right. So they have to buy some tokens, they lock them up in order to publish their app, and then basically they would monetize their app until the point where their what do you call it? Not stake, but their the money that they put into the Collab.Land tokens, that until that has paid off at least, and then beyond that it's like their profit margin.
Yeah, it's almost like advertising, right? Where you advertise,
right.
you don't know if people are going to buy your app or your software or not. Here, you're like paying a fee in Collab token, and you get to be able to take that out if you want to delist. But hopefully, you're adding value to the marketplace so that the money or revenue you are getting from selling your app is greater than the locking amount for in Collab that you
Makes then core operation, we have Chandler, Rustner, Raymond, Abhishek. They're basically doing like each of these, right? So each of those that we have here is basically each person from the team is doing one of these things. I'm just going to copy those out. Or is there anything else that you can see that someone is taking ownership of at the moment that is maybe
the security tooling in placement? I'm not really sure what was meant by in placement, but that could be Russ or that could be Wei. I'm not sure.
And then also support.
Yep, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Who's doing support?
I am.
Cool. Okay.
Candy, Abhishek.
Anastasis and external. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're on their way. Yeah, they're not there right now doing support.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
Who is the lead on that? Who is the responsible individual at the end of the day for that?
I'm gonna say me. I mean, it's really Abhishek knows more than I do, but if there's one responsible person, then I'll say me.
Cool. So Abhishek, Anjali, who else was there?
Ed and Candy.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Perfect. Nice. Yeah, that's great to know, especially that there's already multiple people having kind of one function. That means that you can, if you document it, you can make sure that the quality standard of everybody's work is the same. And if one of you learns something interesting about the customer support, about a particular approach, then you can also share it with everybody else in the future. Okay, cool. I think I had Abhishek. Hope I didn't miss anyone. Yes, stats and product review. Product stats review. Okay, is there anything else that anyone here is doing?
Is tooling, security tooling and placement. Is that it, James? You think that would be Wei or Russ?
That would be Wei.
Okay, cool, nice. Turn copy? Or okay, good. Is Raymond also, is it the same person as Wei, or is it two different people?
Those are two different people.
Okay. Do you know how they split the work, or are they both doing it?
Raymond is really in charge of development, and then Wei is kind of the review. And they work together. That's why they were put together.
Okay.
Like Wei doesn't have the technical capability, but he has like the security background.
Right. And what would you say would be Raymond's responsibilities?
He's like lead dev, or he's the CTO of a bridge, so he's in charge of all like development.
Right. Okay. Okay. So he's overseeing and is responsible of the development.
All of engineering, pretty much.
Okay, cool. Did we have, I wonder if it's worth to separate out engineering into its own category in that case, if he's responsible of making sure that people are doing their work. Because we don't really have that as a as a high level category.
He helps define the work, but he does not manage the.
Okay. How would you describe what he's doing on an everyday basis?
He is the architect.
Okay. So software architecture.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Chanda is like, I guess, product manager, right?
She is VP of engineering, so she with like the managing side of the tech.
Okay.
And
nice.
and the project management part, so the implementation of the architecture and engineering goals and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she, I think in the way that we're organizing at a bridge, we're gonna delineate between product and engineering. So Chanda is like project engineering side, and then it looks like I'm for now leading like product and product development, where Chanda is more project development.
Okay. I'm gonna write you down here too. Okay, nice. So you're kind of the product owner in that case.
Right.
So I think we can also like probably come up with or do you have like a function title for the system? Oh, yeah, I guess like for us that's like, system administration.
Sysadmin,
Yeah.
Right. Nerd, that's like onboarding.
I've just been doing it because nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's HR, I guess.
Right. Good point.
Oh,
yeah, that's also nice.
The technological onboarding and offboarding, yes, Nerd has been doing it. The HR people are not technical.
Okay.
So in this situation, getting them on to all of the different places that we are online, yeah, Nerd has been doing all of that.
Nice, crazy. Okay, cool. Wei is, I guess, security auditor or something.
Yeah, security.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, auditor. That's right.
Abhishek, how would you call it? Product stats review.
He's support
engineer.
Support engineer.
Is that something we can, I don't know, is that a DAO duty?
And DAOs we come up with the names.
He's the under wizard.
Under wizard, nice. Okay, cool. Let's see. Discord moderation, did we have that somewhere already?
That's Chibi, and Nerd does a little too, and we have 2 other people that do it as well.
I'd
cool.
say I'm more Discord architect.
Nice, okay.
But yeah, I still play in the moderation side a bit when I'm on.
Cool. Under the, or is it operations?
Architect's probably operations.
Yeah, okay. And Chibi, yeah, that fits in here. Nice, okay, cool. I guess then we can go next. Nerd and Chibi and Collab.Land plays. What's Collab.Land plays?
Get together in the Discord, plays games together, have fun.
Ah, cool.
Win
Okay.
prizes. It's community engagement through games.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice.
Great. What kind of prizes do you guys offer?
The first one is a collab with Pool Together. So there's 60,000 Pool Together delegation booth, and some that we can send out. So physical and digital prizes. That's for participants. So it's nothing.
Nice.
It's nothing crazy. Like we're not spending a ton of money on this, but it's stuff to make them feel good.
Are you okay with all of that being encapsulated in Collab.Land plays, or are there separate functions that we should parse out?
I mean, it's one event right now, but it's not necessarily sticking to that event structure or that particular thing, I guess.
Okay.
But it's also very new and it hasn't happened yet, so it's kind of like the first one is in 3 weeks.
Nice. The Chibi's community, like the meme emoji contest, that's also something that would you say that's also part of the DAO relationship management, or is that something separate?
Well, it's like, is the server the DAO? Is our community the DAO? I would say yes. So then that, right? Like who's in our server that's not a member of the DAO? Most people that are there because they have a token. So it would, I think all of our community management or community engagement is DAO engagement. Do you see them as separate, Nerd?
This goes back to like thinking about your circles of engagement and like the innermost, I think I called them like summoners or wizards or whatever you want to call it, but like that innermost circle is like people in this group who are like talking these really high level ideas, and then you have the next circle out, which might be all the people who are going to be leads for anything inside of the Discord, which is kind of where everything happens. Then we have the people who are in the Discord who may or may not show up to some public events. Then we have people who are not in Discord but might still hold the token. So there are people out there. If there's like James Waugh is one of those things, but he also doesn't fit into any of these categories because he's also core conversations, but he's not participating in the Discord. So it's messy is the moral of the story.
Okay.
But I guess for Chibi, we can probably categorize the emoji contest under the same function that she's doing here, right?
Yeah, I think so. She's running another contest right now, the meme contest. So those are just going to be ongoing community engagement activities.
Yeah, right.
I think what Nerd brought up was a really good point here, based off of Anjali's question. You know, once we get all of the kind of visualization of who we have here and we get to see roles and responsibilities all kind of mapped out, we'll be able to see where the holes are and where these like people that are kind of in the crevices or kind of outside. And once we have that like picture, I think it'd be interesting to see how do we want to organize, because this is all kind of emergent and kind of organic. And so what we want to do is be able to like be more thoughtful and like constructive so that we can like try to bring some like shape to this rather than it always being like reactive.
Yeah. My goal for this is also to, as you say, first of all, map it out so that we're clearly aligned on everything. And I think it might be worth doing one-on-one interviews and actually talk about everybody's specific workflows and how they're approaching it, because that uncovers a lot of things that we as the, the 4 of us or like the 5 of us don't actually see, because people are just doing things that we don't know about a lot of times. And once that's visible, it's going to be very easy to then specify, to first of all, understand where there's bottlenecks, and then how to actually shape the progression of the evolution, and like how to slowly design how the organization should proceed in a more kind of fluent way. So yeah, I agree that the goal is definitely to create something that mirrors what's going on right now, with the intention to improve it over time. All right, cool. Let's move on to DAO, or creating pride around membership and participation. Is that actually happening just because there was no name on it?
That one's
already marked aspirational.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
If it's not too late for the comment, I do think that it's a very healthy idea to separate the DAO engagement from the kind of more customer, like earlier phase engagement with the customer. It's a more matured customer participating in the DAO, and as that becomes more prominent, it'll be a more specific workflow, right? More dedicated actions in that lane.
Okay. Yeah, I agree that's actually, that makes sense. It crystallizes over time as well. Okay, Steven and Nerd in DAO governance. Is it PH?
Yeah, meetings with Andres, like that doesn't encapsulate what that intent was. So this is like, I don't know.
It's what we're doing here. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. DAO organizational, and I can also put my name on it in a small box, just because I'm related to that, I guess, in some ways, or like I'm just supporting you with it. Anything else? Technical builds with Origami for governor contract. Okay, nice. So that's basically he's managing the Origami, the governance platform, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Finance, Tom and Tom, making sure that staff gets paid fairly, and transparency and reporting. It's director or something, probably, right?
Controller.
Sorry? Controller, yeah. Okay, sweet. Does anything seem missing, or is there anything else that we could add to anyone's responsibilities? So we have, yeah, pretty much like 2 people in mini apps, outreach and awareness, 3 people, core operations, 8 people, or no, actually a lot more. The DAO culture, nerd, DAO governance, 3 people. Oh yeah, good point. Nice, cool. Finance with Tom.
Yeah, and I put that one under DAO governance, because the final decision down from legal is stay the fuck away from actual finance stuff with the token for now. So we're just looking at utility games that we can play instead of finance games.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it makes sense. Great. Okay, cool.
Generally, also a good practice to preserve your governance privileges away from something people can buy, right? So selling votes can quickly create imbalanced systems.
Yeah. Cool. Is there, so for each of those, probably all of the work is kind of happening on a recurring basis, right? So there's no, or would you say that some of the work or some of the responsibilities happen at a kind of ad hoc basis? So like, are there, kind of like, I guess, team projects that would happen only in a very specific time, or is everything that we just described what's happening on a regular basis, like every month or every week?
I'd say this is pretty regular.
Okay.
I mean, it feels very much like we do the same kind of stuff every week. We have a
right
schedule, and yeah.
Nice. Okay, great. Yeah.
I was just Like I feel very fortunate that I feel like I'm doing my responsibilities shift around, and I guess I'm fortunate that way. But that's also because I'm in, as you can see, I'm in a lot of places.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you're just like everything, everywhere,
all at once.
all at once. Okay, cool. I'm just thinking if there's anything that we can categorize even more. So with the social media, I guess that's like probably one team where people work with each other and they also probably inform each other or quite a lot. Would you say that there are teams here, so like multiple teams, or is it one team that's working on everything? It's all 8 people working all together, or?
No, multiple teams, but there's a lot of cross-pollination, but not everyone's in every team. Like if we're doing myself, Nerd, Candy, and Chibi are one team. Those are like 2 completely separate squads. We kind of use squad.
Right. What would be a squad here?
Russ, Wei, and I are security squad.
And then like, James, Ed, and Candy, and I don't know if Abhishek is on your product squad, James.
Oh,
He has one foot in product because he helps with the competitive analysis.
Right. And then Alok too is product squad.
Yeah, kind of part of it too. He helps kind of like on the kind of
thanks.
project side of like management.
Okay, so this is the security squad, right?
And there are people
that is his first.
Filter in and out. Like James was saying with product squad, Alok and Abhishek kind of have foot in there. So there's like permanent members, and then you have the like visiting members.
Yeah.
God, is this messy? Are we messy? Maybe we're messy. I don't know.
I don't know. I just keep showing up and doing things.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we have security squad, we have the support squad, the comm squad. Is the comm squad different from the support squad?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, that's this one, right?
Yeah.
Basically. Okay, cool. Great. And here, yeah, actually I can, okay. And then there's probably developer squad or something here, right? So James or product squad.
Yeah.
Let me just see who else is left. Chanda and Raymond.
And James, probably.
And then we have our lawyers too. The lawyers would also need, at some point, they'll be replaced, or maybe they'll be the same people and contribute and getting paid in a different way other than just fiat, but maybe they'll get Collab token in the future. I don't know how DAOs are dealing with their legal, like right now we're just, Abridged is paying for all of it for Collab.Land. But how does that work in other DAO structures? Like how are lawyers or members of the DAO? No, they're just like services that the DAO pays for.
Like an external service, external contract.
And then you have PR or like marketing, which right now we're doing through a media team in our server. So like we have a little media team, and actually I've gotten 2 podcasts out of that. And we have somebody that writes articles on occasion. We're hoping to activate them some more too.
Right.
You might have external PR, and then you might have a media team squad in your DAO. So,
do you already have that? Is someone already doing it?
Yeah, so we have a team now. We meet every Friday. I think it's good. And then we also have an external PR company that gets paid real dollars.
Who's on the internal team, or do we have them here? And is it the comm squad as well?
Comm squad is, yes. I would say we're but you know, there's other people that are from the server that join, but we're the leaders of it.
Okay, cool.
There's comm squad, and then there's this media that may or may not involve members of that comm squad and some other people from the DAO.
I see.
Which have not been compensated in anything beyond content.
Right. Okay. So you could, this is something that you could consider just over time, as you see that if people contribute with something really high quality and you want to start, compensating them, just make sure you make note of what they're exactly doing the same way we're doing it right now. So you see that there's like one person who's like a really good podcast host, then you can create a podcast host function for them. And then they can be also part of the comm squad.
There's aspirations for Collab.Land to have a DAO education focus podcast also.
Yes,
Nice. Yeah.
right.
Right.
Run by Nerd, who
Right.
volunteers, by the way. I am not continually adding things Nerd's plate and saying, Nerd, do this, 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 and this. He's like, hey, what about if I do this? I'm like, that's a great idea. So just to put that out there, I'm not a tyrant that's like, and I have this. No, that's not the way.
Do you know D-Way? I personally have another call in 4 minutes. Just heads up.
Yeah. Cool. I would also
flesh out the DAO education thing. I just wrote the good note to capture.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I'm gonna leave that here. I think that's or like maybe here. Okay, Collab.Land plays. Would that belong to some squad, or is that like your own squad?
That probably will be a squad if that becomes a thing that we like and we get a turnout for it, which I suspect we will. Not the internal person has been working with me on that. He's actually been the one mostly pushing it forward. I'm just kind of coordinating and making it understandable to externals right now. But the big sounding prize monies come from him and Pull Together, and it was his idea to do the collaboration between the communities and stuff. So yeah, that I suspect that will become a squad.
Okay, cool.
Just call it event squad. I don't know.
Nice. Okay, sweet. Okay, cool. And then we have the DAO governance. I mean, this is probably just like governance squad.
Just everybody in the Collab.Land DAO Slack channel.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Slack squad. And that can also be the finance squad at some point. Okay,
yeah,
so just for context, these squads are pretty helpful to kind of just see how people work together closely. So, and that gives you an idea of how new people might be introduced. So ideally you want someone who is always responsible of some of the work. Actually, I guess this one is also the squad, right? But that's this kind of semi-permissioned layer. So everything inside is permissioned, and everything on the margins, like Nerd has already mentioned with the marketing, for example, or like with the podcasting, this is like semi-permissioned or almost people can contribute, but in order to become part of the internal circle, they need to kind of go through this filter. So for example, for the Comm Squad, people now can know that if they want to contribute with something valuable, they could potentially reach out to you and make suggestions on, is that something that you actually need in the Comm Squad? And equally, you can also go outside and look at, hey, there's this person who's really, really good at being a podcast host, and they understand what we're building. Maybe I should reach out to them and ask what they're doing it, document that, make that part of the internal squad, and kind of that's the hiring process essentially. So they can see there's no need for an external hiring process or an HR agency. It's all kind of decentralized to each of these squads. I think the best way is probably to start writing out and documenting the actual workflows and making those more clear. And then next time we can figure out exactly in granularity and how to compensate, or like what you actually need from the workflows and what they could be used for. All right.
Cool.
You can also add tickets. Oh, add tickets on, if we think of anything else, add them to this document now.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
I think that can be like sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's also like the who, right, of the team members. I think if there's anybody who's been left, what are they doing? Yeah, more well-rounded, the better.
No, I think it's great because the goal is ultimately to be able to like have a structure that people can fill in and new members can.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, self-service, basically, ideally. Great. Nice. Great work, guys. Good talk.
Amazing.
Yeah, good work.
Have a wonderful rest of the day.
You too.
Bye.
And
Thank you.
chat to you next